we've got our first inspection under our belt, and this is everything that went into it. Getting ready to hang an auger so we can dig a post hole for our power pedestal. This was no easy feat. That thing is a beast. We've used this kind of auger before, and it was definitely helpful having it suspended from the backhoe. The longest 6x6 posts that they had were 16 feet. So we took a 16-footer and an 8-footer and combined them into one. Prepping a surface for our lights to mount on. These lights will be helpful when we're working days well after the sun's gone down. Alright, when you're digging holes for a post to put your electric on, and most of your stuff is buried in your shipping container, and you don't have a post hole digger to pull dirt out, you duct tape a 1.5 cup measuring cup onto a stake. Redneck ingenuity right here, folks. But it worked. Nothing like a good old pole raising. This is redneck. Redneck tamping. Get an elbow?
Alright, go around to the other side.
This side here. We have a panel up, folks. It's a miracle.
set up for inspection. Part of that is going to be getting our breakers on here, supplying the one breaker to this panel over here, getting this panel wired up so that it can supply this light on the top of this with power. We're going to put a couple of outlets down here, a 220 outlet and a 110. This is where our transformer is going to be, with a high voltage line running up to a cabinet supplied by the electric company.
It's up there by those power poles is where the cabinet is.
And then from there, from the transformer, we'll have a line that comes up. We're actually running 2 parallel 4-aught URD lines up into here.
That extra $5 make this a whole lot easier and a whole lot less.
So an extra $5 every $5.
These kids are out here working alongside us. All right, we gotta install 2 grounding rods about 6 feet apart from one another. Here we've got Calvin digging a little trench for our copper grounding wire to attach the 2 rods. This kid was a total trooper. He spent probably 45 minutes hauling these sagebrush that I loosened up and loading them into that front bucket. And that one was a big one. And just like that, we're ready to dig a trench. This trench is the one that'll lead over to the power post at our RV pad. Then we started the trench up the driveway. We were making quick work of it, and then about here we hit rock. It quickly got to the point where we could only cut down about 18 inches. We're running into issues. We need power, guys, so that we can get out of these tents. Since it's high voltage, it's got to be 48 inches deep, which we were able to get for like 50 feet or so. And then the rocks just weren't having it. They did not want to be trenched. So we're back to backhoeing it. So we're gonna have a nice wide trench. I guess it'll be a little easier to compact it that way. But kind of a bummer though. Okay, once we got through the brunt of the rocks, we picked it up again with the trencher. Sausage break.
What we have here is our 200 watt panel. Then I have a 15 amp breaker that goes to this light on the top of the pole. And then I have these two 20 amp breakers that go to these two GFCI outlets in here. And I have a 100 amp breaker that goes into this conduit. Then we have direct berry line that brings it over there. These two are B panels. But before I can go into the panel, I've got to split it. So I've got a sub panel here. So I'm bringing my line that's in the trench. That's this really thick dark black one here, and this really thick black one here. This thick black one with a white stripe, and then this green wire here. This all goes to the panel. Then from there it splits. This goes to one of these panels and this goes to the other panel. So the neutral comes in from these two panels and comes and connects to this bus, and then the ground comes in from this panel and connects to a bus back behind there. And then inside of each one of these panels it splits. So it started at 100 amps over at the main panel. Now we've got a sub panel that divides it into two 60 amp breakers, and then these two 60 amp breakers comes over here and divides into a 50 and a 30 and a 20. The 50 amp goes to this outlet, the 30 amp goes to this outlet, and the 20 amp goes to this outlet. And so then it's just wired in, and then all of this stuff is wired in underneath. And the other panel looks just like this, except it has red hot line instead of black.
All right, now that there is a fiberglass base for our transformer. All right, now that the base is all leveled and prepped, we're ready for that transformer. And there will be 7,200 volts running into that bad boy. I started off just watching with the kids from a distance, but it wasn't long before Calvin needed a closer look. This guy from the electric company was so great and fielded all the questions. And it was no surprise to me that our 9-year-old was picking up all the concepts.
No, I just mean the other plastic part. This.
Oh, it's called semicon. It's semiconductive material. That's why we have to peel that black off whenever we make our elbows up.
So you've got
That's
the
what
jacket, the
insulates.
semicon, and the conductor.
Yep.
Don't
Jacket.
forget the copper outside.
Yep. We call those the concentric.
Oh, this thing smells weird.
I'm telling you, this guy was a total saint. There was no end to the questions. Meanwhile, Jeff was up at the top of the hill by the cabinet where they were trenching to connect the high voltage wire to the main source of power. rumor was there were a few things running in this trench area, so they were working slow and carefully. From what Jeff was telling me, he was asking a lot of the same questions that Calvin was down lower at the transformer. Like father, like son. It's inspection time. They got to make sure that we did everything correctly on our end. And once they give us the green light, they can energize our lines. That green sticker means we're good to go. Now they can power us up. Hallelujah.